this morning in Dublin, a new campaign was launched. It's called 4-Day Week Ireland, and it's a Indigenous and international coalition of unions, businesses and environmental and women groups promoting the benefits of a shorter working week. This is in the context at Brighton this week. The British Labour Party made a commitment to campaign to reduce the working week from 5 to 4 days. The presumption here is that you get the same pay. Well, joining me in studio is one of the people who attended the launch, Margaret Cox, director of the ICE Group, who have bought into a 4-day week, along with our regular employment law specialist, Richard Grogan, who I suppose is one of those ambulance chasers that'll get you the few quid. You're both very welcome. Margaret, why are you launching this campaign?
So the campaign was launched by Forza this morning. They're driving the initiative in Ireland. ICE Group went to a 4-day week ourselves on the 1st of July. We're following a model that was set in New Zealand by Perpetual Guardian. And essentially we've gone to 4 days work, 3-day weekend, 5 days pay, and I guess we're looking for 100% customer satisfaction, which is where the productivity comes in. We've got to deliver the same work.
You're based in Galway?
In Galway, yes.
And is this now, because we've had you on before in relation to, you're an agency for nurses across the world, so you get Irish nurses and other nurses and you locate them in hospitals, isn't that right?
That's correct.
This is not for your agency work, this is for your own administrative staff in Galway, and so they do a 4-day, but they do an extra hour on the 4 days, do they?
Yes, so we were on a 5-day pattern for 39-hour week. We've gone down now to 4 days, 9-hour days, so it's 36 hours. So there is a reduction in the hours. We've lost the day, and everybody can choose to take a pattern which ensures that they have a 3-day weekend. So in general, you either work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you're off Friday, Saturday and Sunday, or you work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you're off Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So essentially,
so if I ring the office on a Monday or Friday, will I get a answer to my call?
Absolutely, that's the way we've it organised.
There's a roster, there's adequate staff to cover it.
Yes, that's correct.
And what has been the outcome in terms of productivity, customer satisfaction?
So in terms of customer satisfaction, we haven't seen any drop in it. We have had no complaints from customers. We've seen a greater awareness of the type of benefits that we're giving to our staff, and they can see us as I suppose, a supplier of choice. In terms of our staff, morale has gone up, energy has gone up, enthusiasm has gone up, and productivity has, as a minimum, stayed the same. But we actually believe that by the end of the 6 months, we'll be able to show a dramatic increase in productivity across the board without putting additional resources on. We're changing the way that we work. We're changing the lives of the people who work with us, and we're changing the way that we do our jobs on a daily basis.
And you're going to stick with this change?
Well, we went with a trial because we needed to work out different things. The type of thing that you mentioned there, who answers the phone on Monday, who answers the phone on Friday. So we had to work that out, what was best for the business, what was best for the people, and what's best for our clients. And on the basis of the trial, which will end at the end of December, we make the decision, do we stay or go? But at this stage, 13 weeks into it, I cannot see, unless the whole world falls apart with Brexit and Trump, etc., that we would be moving away from this trial, and I think we'll be implementing it 100% from the 1st of January 2020.
Richard Grogan, I can see this would be very popular. People like their long weekends. They feel after 2 days of a weekend, where did the weekend go? And they've got to face into 5 hard days.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good soundbite, and it's going to sound great. But the reality on it is, this is the cart before the horse, because you have a department in the Department of Employment Affairs who really have absolutely no interest in compliance with the working time legislation. You have a situation where there was a proposal recently to stop people being contacted outside of working hours. That was shot down by the Department of Employment Affairs. So the issue of the 11-hour break and people getting the proper breaks during the day, already we have a situation where the department really has very little interest in compliance with this. So they'll make all the mood sounds, and everything will look absolutely great. But I think there's going to be a significant issue. This is a great idea. It should be there. But we haven't got the foundations right as yet because we don't have proper enforcement of working time legislation. But once we get that, yes, the 4-day week is a great idea, but you have to look on it.
Like, would you introduce it in your office? Because you're a hard taskmaster.
I'm a very hard taskmaster, but the position in relation to it is, yes, but that's going to mean that people are going to have to understand the services that they're going to get. And the trade-off on this would be, as Margaret has said, do I increase the normal daily hourly rate? The hours has actually increased with there. Now, the overall have reduced. So the proposal in the UK is you're going to work the 4 days like you normally worked, but you're going to get paid for 5. So you're going to lose, if you're working a 7.5 hour day, the employer is going to be paying for an additional 7.5. You're not going to be able to add the hours on. So I think this has to be seriously looked at, but I think we have to have a discussion on, as it currently stands, there are people, and the case they're going to the WRC, who have been contacted at 11, 12 o'clock at night by email and by mobile phone. They're not getting their proper rest and break periods. So I think it's a great initiative, and I think it's going to be taken up by companies.
But you're saying it's not enforceable?
Well, at the moment, it's going to be it's going to be only that you volunteer for it. Now, I think it's going to be advantages for companies, because those who do are going to be the best place to work, because that's going to be the retain and attract the best workers are going to say, we're going to go to the place that has the best work-life balance, and we see this as a work-life balance. But you have to look at this. Are you going to bring in legislation? What's the effect of this going to be if you brought this in 6 months' time? And are you going to say people are going to have to work longer for it? And I think this is something that has to be worked on a company-by-company basis. But we need a big discussion on it as to how we work in Ireland and what we expect. So, if you want to be phoning staff at 10 o'clock at night, that's not really an option. So you have to get the basics right.
That is a separate issue, though, in fairness. People abusing with emails and so on is a completely separate issue.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah.
People have a set week. Whether you're working on the high street or whatever, your office opens a certain time. People are expected in 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever it is. That's the issue we're addressing here. I mean, I remember the day, Margaret, when I started working 104 years ago, that was you worked a half day on a Saturday. You worked 5.5 days, and good thinking people went to religious ceremonies on a Sunday as well. But I am now in a situation that I have so many jobs, radio and TV, so many Nixers, so many events and so on. I actually find I'm utterly exhausted. So I went to the management of one of the broadcasters and I said, could I have Friday off? And I tell you what, you needn't pay me. And they turned around and they said, sorry, our advertisers, our JNLR and our ratings and everything works on the basis of a 5-day week. It's just not possible. We can't switch off our service. Is this not the case that for a lot of businesses, the reality is they are in a structure? Like the Hard Shoulder is a 5-day week program. And I just, you either, it's all duck or no dinner, and those are the terms, and you either do it or you don't.
And that is the challenge for us, Ivan. And that's what we need to look at. I mean, ICE Group, we're on the west of Ireland, in Galway, Sligo, Limerick. If somebody said to me,
well, they get up at 12 o'clock in the west of Ireland. Let's be fair about it.
Come on, the day starts very early in the west of Ireland now.
Right.
You can be sure of that, and it goes on long. But if somebody had said to me a year ago, would you go down to a 4-day week? I would have said, no, we'd never manage it. We're too small. We can't do it. There's too many challenges. And yet when we sat down and we looked at it analytically, and we thought, what are the opportunities here for us? What are the challenges? What can we do? Will it make things better for our people? Will it make things better for us as business owners? And will it make things better for our customers? We started to think about how we can do it. So while, yes, maybe not this Friday, you mightn't be able to go to a 4-day week here in the radio station, but maybe in 6 months' time. But it's not just like
there's many businesses which the phone will ring 9 to 5 or whatever, and that's good. I mean, like retail, you're talking about 7 days a week, and the hospitality sector, their busiest times are at the weekend.
But it may not be that they're in the hospitality sector that their weekend is going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They may get a 3-day weekend at a different time. So it's not necessarily a weekend. It's 3 days off together. But that is, I suppose, and Richard is right, it's time to start the conversation. That's what happened today with the launch of the Irish campaign. We're starting the conversation. We're looking at the Women's Council. They're involved in this conversation. The climate control people or the climate people are involved. I mean, we have seen people who are saving €20 a week week in terms of petrol money because they're not coming into work on the fifth day.
But
That's better for the climate.
is there another issue? Because when the nurses' dispute was on, I looked into their rosters and I found most of them work 13 days a month, and the reality, however, is they work 12-hour shifts. So they, and maybe through the night. So they work intensely hard, but it could be a week on, week off situation. Is there any evidence, Richard, that if you work for a long stint, that you're actually exhausted after 8 hours and you actually don't have the productivity gain? Who does it suit in terms of competitiveness and employer, the less days and longer shifts?
Well, look, can I say to you, some businesses, and you've identified it, for example, you take our business, we go to court. So if we say we're going to take in a 4-day week, is the WRC, is the Labour Court, and is the courts going to turn around and say, well, actually, we won't list you for one of those days in the week? So that's a real problem, that there's a whole change that's going to have to go the whole way through. As regards people who are working really long shifts, all the evidence from Europe in relation to that is, and particularly long nighttime shifts, is that this has a detriment on people's health. And we certainly see the cases coming into us, my partner and myself, Michelle Lochdan, where we have situations where people are coming in with serious stress-related issues because of the hours that they're working. So working 30...
Have you heard of the compo culture?
Well, now, hold on a moment. Can I say to you, these are people who are coming in who now can no longer work, and they're in a situation where they're not coming in with, this is an injury, this is an issue that the employer is saying, we're getting rid of you because you can't work, because you're sick. And
all right.
So this is a different area than the compo culture, if you can call it that way.
Well, no, when people come into you and looking for something, that's what I'm talking about. But tell me this, a lot of people are asking, what happens to annual leave? How is it calculated?
It's governed by the legislation, so you're entitled to 20 days annual leave a year, or 4 weeks. So if your week is a 4-day week, you're entitled to 4 weeks of 4 days.
Would this require a change in the law, Richard?
Oh, it would need a massive change in the law, because you're going to have to look at the issue, because it's very simple. There's 3 ways of dealing with it. It's 4 weeks or 8%, but you'd have to change then the issue as to the number of hours you have to work in a year to get the 4-week holidays. So there will be issues in that, but they're not insurmountable. But it's just, what you have to look at is, you're going to have to look at how businesses are going to be operated, and there's then going to be an issue between businesses. So if you take the courts, are the courts all going to close down on a Monday or a Friday, or is the WRC going to close down on a Monday or Friday? Then everybody has to run with that. Well, so there's an issue there.
I'm just reading here a note. The Organisation of Working Time Act 1997 says employees cannot exceed 48 hours a week. What if you're self-employed and working 76 hours a week?
If you're self-employed,
you're an idiot, a busy fool. That's what you're.
Well, you're probably making millions, so they don't really worry about it. But what I'm saying to you is, that's a choice that you have as a self-employed individual.
You can go now, right? All right, my thanks as always to Richard Grogan, employment law specialist with his own firm of the same name, and Margaret Cox, doing it on a trial, but determined perhaps to continue with a 4-day week, director of the ICE group. Thank you both for joining us.